14 games, December the 23rd. These are one of the nonsense days in the NBA, but we're still going to break it down. We're going to talk about what does matter and what doesn't matter. And what does matter the most is Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd and I'm looking for my spool of wire. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Blue Sky, joshloyd.bsky.social, on Twitter at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at LockedOnFantasyBasketball. The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel, because right now new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Go to FanDuel.com to get started. Also check out LockedOnDaily.com and find your NBA team's best ever newsletter. LockedOnDaily.com is where you go. Chuck us a sub, a thumb, a comment, or don't. I don't care. Whatever you need to do, that's fine. You can do that. We are talking about the action on Monday. We'll start off with a little bit of waiver wire chatter. Just look at the most added players, most dropped players, and talk about the relevancy of those moves. The most added player, of course, was Dillon Brooks, who was excellent on Sunday, and we thought, all right, that's fine. Maybe it's worth writing out Dillon Brooks hater, and of course, he didn't play today. Sick. Andy Nembhard and Obi Toppin. Now, some of these are influenced by people streaming in on Sunday due to the low volume days there. Nembhard and Toppin and the Pacers in general had a really sort of busy 9-day period, so it makes sense to target them, but a lot of those influenced by Sunday. Ochai Agbaji also was a Sunday guy who's continuing to start in Toronto, who's okay, but I'm not going to get overly excited there. Larry Nance and Dante DiVincenzo are probably more interesting as ads, given the fact that they weren't part of that Sunday group. And DiVincenzo's minutes were pushing up. Nance was looking at as a pretty solid backup player. We'll talk about their production in their relevant games later on in the show today. The most dropped player, number one, is Flaming Mo Wagner, of course, out for the season with a torn ACL. Then there are two Champagnes there. Both Justin and Julian populate the top of the most dropped players. We'll talk about those guys in the recap of their games today as well. Andre Drummond, because Joel Embiid was returning, and then Drummond himself got hurt today. So yeah, he's an easy drop. BJ Boston, also an easy drop. And Asad Thompson, I don't know what's happened in the Pistons-Lakers game when I'm recording this part of it. But yeah, very obvious that he is a drop to me. Yes, there can be foul trouble and all that sort of stuff. But unless there is an unfettered path for him to get 26 a night, it's very hard for me to consider him a 12-team league player. And I believe that's where we are with him at the moment. Now, before we get in and start these games, a couple of things just to talk about with this, right? A few things. Number one, I'll say it, and I'll continue to say it. I'll say it to anybody who wants to listen, including your official accounts, whatever. 14 games on a day it's absolute stupidity. It's so dumb. And I know what you're going to say. Well, they're doing a Josh so the players get a day off tomorrow. I'm well aware of that. But you know what? You also don't have to. You don't have to. Yeah, you give them the day off Christmas Eve, totally fine. You don't have to play 14 games on a day. It makes your league into a jumbled mess. This is not baseball where every team plays every day, right? We don't run that schedule. That is not how the NBA is consumed. It's a different sport to baseball. 14 games on a day leads to these problems, and we saw it last time with Thanksgiving as well, where the day before a large break where all these teams are playing, teams shenaniganize their rotations. Hey, this is an extra opportunity for a few days rest. So you get fake injuries all over the place. You get random weird pop-off performances. It's like the last day of school before you're breaking up for a holiday or the end of the year. And everyone starts going wild. You're drawing on t-shirts. You're taking a shit in the corner of the classroom. Maybe that's just my school. I don't know. But something weird's happening. And that's what these days are like. We saw it at Thanksgiving. We saw it here. We're going to see it anytime this happens. It's just, you cannot really... There's no way to be able to focus on the league properly with 14 games on. So, I've said that, and now we're going to focus on 14 games across the NBA. First game was the Boston Celtics and the Orlando Magic. The Magic win it 108-104. I defend NBA teams and players a lot. I do. Because I think there's a bunch of insincere critics who use the NBA as a conduit for whatever other grievances they may have. And disingenuous discussions regarding style of play. There's so much of it that is just actually pure lies and garbage. But this nonsense on the Boston side is the shit that needs to change. How Jason Tatum, after the scheduled time of game, is ruled questionable with an illness, taken out of the starting lineup, and then ruled out at halftime, it shouldn't be able to happen. These late changes, A, start your games on time. B, come on, we knew about this way before. These things need to be absolutely locked in 30 minutes, an hour before. This should not be allowed. And again, this is one of my biggest pet peeves. Two of them. Start on time, but also this shouldn't be allowed. But anyway, Jason Tatum was allegedly sick, and he didn't play. Now, he probably was sick. But you know what? They probably knew that an hour and a half before the game. So Al Horford got the start. Great. Fantastic. And yeah, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Al Horford played well because he didn't. This is a huge win actually for the Magic to be able to get this sort of a victory here. Yes, the Celtics weren't fully whole without Tatum, but look at the Magic, man. Their teams, none of them there. But Horford played 35 minutes. He had 8 points on 30% shooting. So the minutes are great. But we don't get this enough from Horf. He is outside the top 250 over the last 2 weeks. It's just not happening. Move on. Jaylen Brown was very good, 35, 9, and 4 with 3 steals. And we actually finally got a good Drew Holiday game. And we don't get many of those. Not at all. 16 and 8 with 3 steals and 2 blocks. Now that brings him to like the 122nd ranked player this season. Showing you that he has just been bad all the way through. I still maintain that you don't have to be rostering him in points leagues. And if you dropped him in category leagues, yeah, it'd be shit timing if you did it right now. But that happens, right? It's all about the totality of what has happened and how you think it's going to go moving forward. And there are always going to be regret games in there. I don't think it's a bad decision if you did move on. Derek White had 17, 4, and 4 with 3 steals. Cool. That's good. And Porzingis played 37 minutes. Not that he was dominating. The free throws are great. The field goals are terrible. Not much else going on here. We only got 16 Sam Hauser minutes. But what I will highlight is Peyton Pritchard because he'd been almost insulated against bad performances. No matter what happens, he gets 30 minutes a night. These are the games that I was worried about with Pritchard in the past. Go, okay, when they're rolling, he'll just play 21 minutes and it won't be useful. But that hasn't happened at all until today. He had 7 points in 21 minutes. He didn't shoot particularly poorly or particularly well. Just weird that they went back to that rotational decision. So we keep an eye on it. I don't think it's going to be a thing, but we absolutely have to pay attention to it because it happened. And when these things happen where you think that, that could happen a lot more, and that's the worry, then we got to just sort of watch to see which direction they go in with it. On the Orlando side, just again, unbelievable stuff from them to get this victory. No Franz, no Paolo, of course, and they made a couple of changes into the starting lineup. Jalen Suggs returned, and that meant that Mr. Black moved back to the bench. And then, because they lost Mo Wagner, Wendell Carter moved to the bench to be the backup center. And they started Trevelyan Queen. Yes, Queen. Wow, out of nowhere. He's like a point guard, and they started him at the 3. Let's start with the big fella, Trevelyan Queen, who had 17 points with 3 threes and 3 steals and a block. Now, a lot of people will rush to go and grab him. I get it. That is a very, very tasty line from old mate Trevelyan. But I'm not sure that we want to feel like overly confident in it. He's an interesting player. Absolutely. And maybe you go, hey, we're getting out ahead of it. The only guy that's sort of likely to return here is Gary Harris, and that's possible, but will he get the minutes over Cole Anthony, over Anthony Black? I'm not sure. I know that when we're talking about the beneficiaries and the winners from Mo Wagner being hurt, and that sounds it's a terrible way to put it, but never in a million years I think, it's going to be time for 35 Trevelyan Queen minutes. Didn't think that would happen. Absolutely no chance of knowing that. Well, maybe there was a chance. I just had no chance of knowing it. Because there's... no. Deep league, sure, grab him. Let's see what happens, all right? That's interesting. Suggsy was pretty good. The minutes you'd hope for a little bit more from Suggs. But, he's always going to be banged up. 16, 6, and 5 with 2 blocks. And Goga got ejected. That's why. Well, that's part of the reason for some of the low minutes for Goga. He also just wasn't at his best. 8 and 9, 2 steals and 2 blocks. And you think that's good. It is good, but he just wasn't quite at his best. But this is also interesting is they basically played Wendell and Goga strictly as centers. Now, I think some of that is the Celtics matchup, but 21 minutes, 7 seconds for Goga, 26 minutes, 53 seconds for Wendell. So Wendell moved to the bench and he got the center minutes, and they did not play next to each other. Very important to watch, because if that continues If that is what they do, then that does mean that Tristan da Silva and Trevelyan Queen become more interesting. We have to watch that. Speaking of Aravinda da Silva, 18 points with 4 threes. Now, he doesn't do anything really apart from score and shoot threes. But he's doing them in enough volume where you've got to just prick your ear up and go, oh, hang on. There's an NBA player with the name of Tristan who's doing something. And again, if I'm in a deeper league, that's interesting. 14 teamers, maybe. As for Mr. Black, he had 9, 4, and 3. Not good and not reliable. He's not. And Cole Anthony, also 10 points. Yep. 5 assists. Yep, that's nice. But 17 minutes. Cole Anthony's got the shape of a game that makes sense. But he never does it enough. He doesn't play enough. So we're not rostering Cole. We're not rostering Mr. Black. We're not rostering John Isaac, who had 7 points in 14 minutes. We are considering a stream of Da Silva. And we're sort of just watching around the edges of the Queen. I didn't actually talk much about Wendell. So people have asked me, what happens with Wendell with Mo out? What happens? Well, look, almost nothing changed. And he went to the bench and played 27 minutes for 11, 7, and 4 with 2 blocks, which is just literally the exact same thing that he's just been doing every game. So I'm not going to get overly excited about it. You can roster him. The floor is safer, but I think that's probably where we sit with him. And on a 14-game day, love that I took so long to talk about one game, but there were a million interesting things, especially on that Magic side with the Mo Wagner injury. That was important for us to note. We noted it, and off we go. Today's episode, though, is brought to you by Robinhood and Robinhood Gold. You do not need the old silver spoon, although we'd love a silver spoon, wouldn't we? But we don't need it to eat up all of the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and the perks that are usually reserved for high society. Now, resourceful individuals who do have the old Robinhood Gold can get themselves a very liberal rate of 4.25% APY on an uninvested cash and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on IRA account contributions. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth, and the generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply for product-specific disclosures. Visit robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC. Now would be a good time for us to go on to Game 2, I'm guessing, and that is the Utah Jazz men up against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Another one of the, again, weird games, weird stuff at this time of year. The Jazz, there was no John Collins. There was also no Keontae George, but John Collins had a phantom hip contusion, and that meant that no, it wasn't Kyle Filipowski. It was old mate, Micah Potter. So Potter got the start in a 113-124 loss. We'll start with him, might as well. Played 26 minutes, had 11 and 7, 3 threes, a steal, and a block. And I go, oh, hang on, what? I'm not going to add him. Because, again, we don't play Tuesday. They don't play Wednesday. And Big John Collins might be back in the next one. But it is, you open your eye and you go, all right, let's pay attention. Deeper leagues, maybe. Because Filipowski played 10 minutes. Now, still, I believe that Filipowski will get a 26-minute-a-night role March onwards. But we're not in March. We're not even in 2025 yet. So just keep an eye on Potter right there. No Keontae meant that we got 36 Colin Sexton minutes and 33 Jordan Clarkson minutes. 27, 6, and 5 for Clarkson, 2 steals and a block in a revenge game, while Sexton had 24, 3, and 5 with 4 threes in a revenge game. Both guys putting up big numbers, and the Sexton run has been great the last 3 games, and it is, if you have someone in your league that is not as in tune or in depth or paying attention, they'll just look and say Sexton's been great. He's back. But the last 3 games, Clarkson ejection, Keontae injury. I don't know that they're necessarily correlated. I mean, they are, but I don't know that for sure because the next game, Keontae might play and Sexton still might play 34 minutes. Seems pretty bloody unlikely, but that might happen. But 3 big games in a row, 2 different reasons for it happening for Sexton, and that's often when you can chuck a swindle in. So just have a look at it. Lowry had 26 and 7 with 6 triples. As for Clarko, by the way, the man on the street, he is like streamable, and that's all he remains, is a streamable player. Walker Kessler, though, 9 points. Yep, okay. He was dominant on the boards, 16 rebounds. He had 3 blocks. Brutal from the line, but good on field goals. I think we know who he is. Rebounds, blocks, field goals. Anything else you get, absolute miracle. but at least they are playing him good minutes. Luke started, he had 11 points with 2 threes, but yeah, not much else going on there. While guys like Collier and Filipowski, and by the way, I know this is underreported, Cody Williams at number 10, what a horrid pick so far. We are very early in his career. He is young, of course, but man, he can't even get minutes on this team. It's been very, very rough. We hope that can turn around for him soon. On to the other side of the ledger, the Cavs, another easy victory for them. Sam Merrill actually got the start in this one. Dean Wade was out, and he did his thing. What does he do? He hits threes. He hit 6 of them, 20 points, 3 steals, 50% shooting. We love that for Sam, but of course there was no Okoro and no Wade, and Wade will likely be back next game, and Strus's minutes will ramp up, so don't get over-invested into Merrill. Evan Mobley looks like legit, and I haven't done it yet, and I probably will at some point. When I do All-Star teams, he's going to be in. I'm certain he will make the East All-Star team in my team when I do it. He's been unbelievably good. Mitchell had 22, 3 and 7. Garland 23, 3 and 8. A lot of people complain the Cavs have been too good, so we hadn't seen big minutes from their guys. Well, you got it here. You got 4 players scoring 20 points or more. Another little bit of evidence to add into my do not bother with Max Strus file.
Get that garbage out of here.
Yes, I know he is returning, but I don't care. 2, 6 and 2 for Strus. Well, Jarrett Allen, big of a buy low. Buy low, sell high show coming tomorrow, by the way. 7 and 6 in 27 minutes. Now, over the last 2 years, I've said I do believe that Jarrett is going to be losing value because Evan Mobley is clearly the truth in the future here, and eventually Allen is going to move into a smaller role on this team, or he's going to be traded to a role on another team somewhere where he's a little bit muted. I'm not thinking that's happening right now, but I'm not going to rule that out. So I'm just going to be cautious with it. Not much else going on here, apart from we only got 14 milk minutes, and I know that I want more milk minutes whenever I can, and I didn't get it, so I am sad. And, if you got something you can cheer me up with, just tell me. The next game, what about this one? The old San Antonio Spurs and Philadelphia 76ers. If you want an example of, it's like an NBA game, but with Benny Hill music put under it, this is the one. What the hell was going on in this game? Ejections, come back from the ejection for Andre Drummond, and then techs for flopping, and then rescinded techs, and then another ejection to Joel Embiid, and then Andre Drummond's there. Like, it was nonsense. It was just some of the wildest stuff you have ever seen. And it's where the game was. And then, on top of that, we got just crazy performances. The Sixers win at 111-106. Let's just start with the man who was 100% an easy second-round selection, and it was not second overall, second round. I never thought he would be a first-round player, as many people told me. It's so obvious you wouldn't pick him at number 1. That's Victor Wembanyama, who had 26 and 9, hit 6 threes, had 4 assists, and had 8 blocks. Yeah, that's like, what? That's 18 blocks in the last 2 games for Wemby. And okay, from here on out, could he be the number 1 player? Could he reel in Jokic and be number 1 full season? I don't know. But we are seeing some incredible stuff going on. I would have hoped for more, honestly. And this sounds greedy. And I'm probably going to send an abusive DM to Wemby because I lost my parlay because I went for the over-under of 10.5 blocks and he didn't get it. You know what? You know how we roll. Anyway, Wemby, 7 blocks I think he had in the first half. 1 in the second half. Garbage. All right, let's talk about the other stuff. A bit muted from Sohan, but 15 and 8 with 3 assists in 32 minutes is totally reasonable. Still roster him, clearly. We are finally seeing the demise of the pencil Harrison Barnes. Barnesy. I think his lead is a little blunt. Barnes, 0 points, missed all 5 of his shots. He stinks. Oh, yeah, he stinks. And we're obviously not rostering, although some of you dickheads are. Get rid of him. Keldon Johnson. Another reminder. If I call someone a dickhead in that tone of voice or that phrase, it's like a playful compliment. It's a playful compliment. Keldon had 4 points in 22 minutes, and this guy can... Surely no one's rostering him. See you later. What do we want to talk about here, though? Vassell, don't drop him, but it's not good. 15, 5, and 2. And I say don't drop him because people ask me. Obviously, all of you smart double onyxers out there, you know not to drop Devin Vassell. So you're just hearing me talk. But if you were thinking it, don't do it. What we need to talk about here is the big game from Julian Champagny. 29 minutes. 15 and 8 with 5 threes. Had a pretty bad turnover late in the game. He blocked a shot. That's a really good game. And you would look at that and go, well, 28 minutes, that means I probably want to roster him. And I get it. I think it's okay if you want to have him on a roster. But I also don't think you have to. I think this was a little bit of a special circumstances game. He was awesome in helping get them close in the game. He shot really well. I think it's a little bit outliery, and I don't expect 28 a night for him. Because if you expect 28 or 29 minutes, which we got from Julian Champagny here a night, that means you probably expect Steph Castle to stay at 13 minutes. And I don't. And this is very weird because Steph Castle played 13 minutes. He had 17 points and shot 78%, but they didn't play him. He was basically exclusively a point guard in this game. He played all the backup minutes, really behind Chris Paul, which is interesting because Trey Jones played as well. Now, it would be easy if you ignored the minutes to say, well, 17-3 on 78%, that's an easy add for Steph Castle. No way would I do that. Not a single chance in hell would I be adding Steph Castle in 12 or 14 team leagues. He had a 40% usage and shot 79%. Never going to happen. So don't bother with it. So when we talk about analyzing the game, this is like these days in the NBA, they're like the Friday the 13th. It's like a full moon where whatever nonsense silliness is going to happen, example B or example million is this game of all the shit that went on in this one. You can ignore a lot of stuff. And when you see like Champagny getting 29, but Castle playing 13 minutes, you go, hey, is that real? And the answer is probably not. So just don't over-index on either side of it, I don't think. Okay. On the Philadelphia side of this game, Embiid returned. Embiid got ejected. He had 9 points in 14 minutes. Just always something, isn't it? I don't think this will garner a suspension. I'm not going to tell you about the merits of whether he should have been ejected or not. He probably shouldn't have been doing what he was doing. Let's be fair. But it's just constant nonsense. And I'm very glad that I have nothing to do with Embiid on any of my fantasy teams. Tyrese Maxey, 32, 10, and 8 with 3 steals. That's a welcome performance. I don't know what's going on with his shooting, though. He was bad at the free throws here. And finally, we got back to big Gershon Yabusele minutes. 17 and 4 with 4 steals and a block and 3 threes. Fantastic, but that was because Drummond and Embiid were both out. So, unless Nick Nurse was going to whip out his boner, I don't think they really had any other choice. Was Boner even? Yeah, Boner didn't even get into the game. So, it was just all Gershon. So, don't get overexcited. What else do we need to do? Paul George, better, but still not good. Still bad shooting. 19, 9, and 4 with him. I do believe he'll be better than this. They also lost 2 players during the game in KJ Martin and Andre Drummond. And Kelly Oubre, thank you, Kelly Oubre, for number one, making me say, yeah, let's go and add Kelly Oubre. But also thank you now for justifying why I don't like Kelly Oubre in fantasy leagues. 10 and 6 in 36 minutes with a grand total of 1 assist, 3 steal, and block. No, not one of each. Combined. Thank you, Kelly. I am still rostering him, but I'm doing it at gunpoint. Not real gunpoint, but fictional gunpoint. Because if anyone came into my house with a gun and said, please pick up Kelly Oubre, well, I'd probably want to have some other discussions with them about what else is going on in their life at that point. Let's come back and talk about the other games. We'll do that in a sec. Today's episode, though, is brought to you by the big fellas over at FanDuel Sportsbook. It is not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. You can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. So many ways for you to pick up the elusive, or maybe not elusive, the welcome W over on FanDuel. You can do anytime touchdown scorers. You can do how many points a particular team is going to score, the game total, the over-unders, the spreads, the money lines, the futures, the props. It's all there over on FanDuel. And as a new customer, you can get those $250 in bonus bets. It's so easy. Go to FanDuel.com and join today and place a $5 bet. And if you win that first $5 bet, well, then you get $250 in those bonus bets. So make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. And don't forget to gamble responsibly. All right, next game, Houston Rockets, Charlotte Hornets. Like I said earlier on in the show, we got the random sort of Dylan Brooks absence, and that meant that Amen Thompson moved into the starting line. But before you do it, I know, chat, you're going to be doing it already. Comments are already. You've already done it. Please just start Amen over Dylan Brooks every game. Look how good he is. You got to start Amen Thompson over Dylan Brooks. That's all good, and we all love Amen, and we all hate Dylan Brooks. I get all this. Dylan Brooks has also been pretty good. He was also very good, literally yesterday. So it is easy to say just start Amen Thompson, but that's not really how any of this stuff works. Honestly, it's just not. So while it's great that Amen Thompson did this and had 19 and 11, 3 blocks, 2 threes, and a steal and shot well, that is an amazing game. It doesn't mean that he's going to hold into the starting spot. In fact, if you're going to bench anybody to keep Amen Thompson playing over due to what happened in this game, well, I'd have a look at the bloke playing at the 2, had 6 points in 24 minutes, and that's Jalen Green, who was terrible. That's shithouse, mate. That's real bad. He's been better than that, of course, but I don't think we're making snap judgments based on this one. What do we do with this? Because Cam Whitmore said, hey, remember me? Remember me? 17-7, 3 threes, 2 steals, 1 block. Now, it does require both Tari Eason and Dylan Brooks being out, but what it is good, if you've got Cam Whitmore in a dynasty league, you go, oh yeah, maybe he still can be good, because that's really good. The minutes, they're going to be hard to come by. But that was good. I know there's been a lot of hand-wringing on Fred VanVleet. Hopefully, we're able to unring the hands a little after this game. No, does it make up for everything? No, it doesn't. But it is good. 20-5 with 6 assists and a block and shot 50%, while Şengün had 16-8-4. And Jabari, don't look now, but Jabari Smith, is he good now? He was terrible to start this season. And now look at him. 21-11, 2 threes, 50% shooting, 5 of 6 from the line, top 70 over the last 2 weeks. The big fella's cooking. I don't really think there's much more to talk about there. Like, I'm not going to go into the merits of Jae'Sean Tate. But what I would talk about is the Charlotte Hornets, because they are continuing to just be very, very bad. There were a couple of changes to the lineup, obvious ones. LaMelo Ball returned and Vasa Micic moved to the bench, and Mark Williams returned and BDNR Nick Richards moved to the bench. Let's just start with those guys. 23, 5, and 8 for LaMelo. Bang, good for you. Mark Williams, 19 minutes, 12 and 9, no blocks, 50% shooting, 80% from the line. He continues to play unbelievably well in low minutes. Now, I have no idea when he is going to play 25 minutes or 28 minutes or whatever. I have no idea if he's going to miss all back-to-backs this season. In fact, I'd be pretty confident that he is. But the minutes are ramping up, and he just looks so much better than their other options. So yeah, he's a must-roster player. As for BDNR, surely this is the final nail in the coffin. 13 minutes and 6 points. There's no reason to hold him outside of the occasional stream. Cody Martin continues to just be good enough with Brandon Miller out. Now, I don't know. Miller might return in the next game. In fact, I think he probably will. But 6, 5, and 4, 2 steals and 2 blocks is a very good category league line. In points leagues, he doesn't really register that much, Cody Martin. But that's good for categories. And finally, we got a good Miles Bridges game. Bro had hit about 1 shot of his last 40, it felt like. He had 24 and 8, he had 2 threes, and that's really good to get back on track. Tijan Salan continues to be, like, don't go and look at his shooting numbers. This man is 6'11", 6'10". The shooting numbers, he thinks he's Fred VanVleet. It's unbelievable how bad he is. He's very young, but man, he like legitimately sucks. You can go and drop Vasa Micic as well, 3 points for him, and you re-add him if something does happen to LaMelo Ball down the road, which, of course, we hope not. We hold space for it, but we hope it does not happen. The next game, Toronto, the Knicks. Big win for the Knicks, 139-125. And these games seem closer than they were. This game wasn't particularly close. No Pirtle, no Quickly, still no Bruce Brown, and then a late scratch. And by late, I mean after the game had started, Jamal Shed was ruled out. Let's talk about the wiki Chris Boucher. 19 minutes, 16 points, 4 threes, 3 steals, and a block. That's a vintage Boucher game. Do I care? I care a little bit. I care a little bit for you double Onyxers out there who have already had him rostered, of course. But that's interesting enough while Boucher is out, because I think we know at this point that Mobo's not really getting it done. He's playing 23 minutes a night, so they're going to multiple different options. Now, this will all just get completely wiped out when Pirtle returns, but that's interesting enough from him. That brings us to the other guy that got good minutes last game, and that's Kelly Olynyk. I thought there was a risk that he would sit this game. No, he just played poorly. 6, 3, and 2 in 18 minutes, and if you added Olynyk, fine. I still have significant doubts that he is going to be a 12-team league player. I'd probably hold and see what happens in the next one. But yeah, that's not encouraging, nor is it encouraging for Agbaji, who is, and I will continue to say this, I don't think he's very good. He's improved a lot, but I don't think he's good. 4 points, 20 minutes, not a 12-team guy. See you later. Big bounce back from Barnesy, who struggled yesterday. He had 24 with 8 assists, and Rowan Barrett, good to see him back as well. Volume free throws are a problem, always. But his field goals are nice. He's 23, 6, and 6. He's skewing defensive stats as per usual. And actually, in this game, even though Barnes and Barrett both played, we had no Quickly, but Barnes and Barrett are both there, we actually got good dick. Grady had 16, 5, and 3 with 2 steals and 3 threes. Now, we didn't shoot well. We only got 39% accuracy on our dick shots, but that is okay. That's a solid game. I know that you all enjoy when you get solid dick performances. But me, I'm just not feeling dick for the long term. If you have him, absolutely cool. I cannot see how we get enough dick when Quickly is back, or even on a regular basis when these players are here. So acknowledge the good game. That's great. Thank you, Grady. Thank you for the performance. And then do what you need to do. Jacoby Walter started the second half after Mobo. They went small in this game, and he scored well again. The 2 blocks are nice. The 80% shooting is fluky, but 8 of 10 from the line is interesting. He is profiling, like I've said a million times, like Gary Trent III. Now, he is taller than Gary Trent Jr. He's taller, but he still is predominantly reliant upon shooting and threes. And that is hard to make a fantasy living out of. So I wouldn't be bothered that much here with Jacoby Walter as a fantasy asset. On the New York Knickerbockers side of things, they get it done as usual. Same lineup for them. Let's look at Townsy, 31 and 10, 7 assists, big game. Elite shooting. What about Anunoby going 87% from the field, 31, 7 and 4 with 4 threes? I've been told it doesn't count as a revenge game because the trade happened in last season and we can only really narrowly pick our spots. Oh, hang on, I'm just being told it does count because it was good. So therefore it is a revenge game. There you go. 31, 7 and 4 with 4 threes for Anunoby. Mikal Bridges, whatever. And Josh Hart had 11, 3 and 4, but what's going on with Jalen Brunson? Can't he free throws now? What's he sense like? 12, 1 and 7. What am I doing? 12, 1 and 7 with 2 steals on 31% and 4 of 8 from the line. It has been an horrific. Do you say an horrific or a horrific? I feel like grammatically it should be an horrific, but it's not, is it? It's a horrific. Anyway, this was horrific performance from Jalen Brunson, who had, it's just been really annoying for him this season. He gets going and then he cools back off again, and I'm convinced that his foot is a little rooted. But maybe I'm just wrong. Maybe I'm just smoke on the old copium. Juicy McBride had 12, 4 and 5 with 2 steals. Do you reckon his mates call him Juicy? I would. 12, 4 and 5 with 2 steals from McBride, and that limited the production of Achua and didn't limit campaign because he dropped a casual 19 points. And then old mate Landry Shamet was there. He got a minute of garbage time. The big fella is back. Landry Shamet time. I know we've all indulged in some Shamet time at some point in our lives. The next game, the 6th game of the day, the Minnesota Timberwolves up against the Atlanta Hawks, and they don't get it. They don't get it done. What the hell? I mean, I know what it is. It's Julius Randle, but what is going on with the Minnesota Timberwolves? Finally, a better game from Mike Conley, but still only 27 minutes, 11, 2 and 6 with 3 steals. To me, he's looking more fringy than must. So if you want him, you have him. If you don't, all good. Who cares? Well, the Randle game is fine. 19, 13, and 7, but poor shooting. We know he struggles defensively. He hit 29% of his threes. He's tall DeMar DeRozan in that the numbers can look good and he can put up these big performances, and then he gets mistakenly awarded multiple All-NBA slots. But he's just impossible to build something around. Naz Reid sprained his ankle, but returned, and actually returned in a big way. 29 minutes, 23, 3 and 3 with 3 threes. And that's a lot of threes to say in one sentence. Who am I? Chris Gale. That's 19 field goal attempts though for Reid, which led the team, which is also a little weird. Now, you might be tempted to think this is Naz Reid turning it around, and maybe it is. Whatever you want to take out of it, right? It's just good to see. So let's see where it goes. And we had been getting a step up from Dante DiVincenzo. He'd been firing back up and with, 8, 3 and 3 in 19 minutes. Maybe not. So if you wanted to drop him, do it. We take sometimes these moves and we go ahead of it and we say, well, let's see where we go. Nowhere is the answer. Same with if you tried to get anything more or you thought you might get anything more out of Jaden McDaniels than the occasional fluke performance. He had 6 points in 20 minutes. And Gobert also terrible. 2 points, 6 rebounds. This whole team smells. I haven't even talked about Anthony Edwards because he was absolutely mid yet again. And I would think, I would think at this point that finally, not even finally, that we've just gone, yeah, maybe he's just not that guy. I know that it's easy to make excuses for him and people do it all the time. But like it's a lot, right? It's a lot of evidence of him just not being as good as maybe the fluffers may have led us to believe that they believe. 16, 6 and 4, 2 steals for Ant. We've got 29 Nickeil Walker minutes, which is probably too many. 11, 4 and 4 for him. Also, disappointingly, Rob Dillingham back out of the rotation. For the Hawks, Trae Young returned, and that meant that Vic Krejci moved to the bench. And let's just start with Young. He had 29, 2 and 7. Good. Would have liked a few more made free throws, but whatever. And also Dyson Daniels. He only had 10 points. He shot 40%. But he had 8 steals and 2 blocks. Man, this guy. Man, the steals for him are ridiculous. And how about with no Bogdanovic, no Okonu as well, but no Bogdanovic, they just slotted Garrison Matthews in and he just casually hit 7 triples. He had 2 steals, he had 25 points in 26 minutes. I'm okay of just saying, cool, it's a pre-Christmas Eve bonanza. Like, that's it. It's just a random one. I wouldn't worry too much about reacting to that. DeAndre Hunter, actually low volume game for him, 19, 4, and 2, but that's still usable. It's still solid, yeah? Well, Zach Ricochet is whatever the opposite of solid is. Flaccid? He's flaccid. 5, 0, and 1. And people, surely these people have either died or they just forgot their login or something, but he's rostered in 19% of leagues according to Basketball Monster.
Get that garbage out of here.
What are you guys doing? What about Larry Nance? Check in there. 21 minutes. So we've seen the minutes drop down each game. Not that he was bad. This is a very Larry Nance game. 6 points, 2 threes, 2 steals, 3 blocks. Just, I'm okay with rostering him. Capella's minutes are up. He was mid. And the big question is going to be, does Nance just go back to being a DNP when Okongwu returns? You'd think he probably does, but I don't know, man. He's playing pretty well. All right, the next game. Brooklyn goes down to Miami. The Heat get the win 110-95. The Nets were able to roll out the same starting lineup. It's not a good one, but it is the same one that they rolled out the last time. And I'm immediately just going to go check on what Ben Simmons did. He scored 4 points. You might say that's useless, Josh. Why would you have said he's a must-add player? Well, he is a must-add player. He played 30 minutes. He had 9 assists. He had a steal. And that's not a good scoring game. Absolutely. And he's going to have up and down performances. But he got 9 assists and he played 30 minutes. That's enough for me. That's enough to be a 12-team guy. Tyrese Martin popped off randomly. 22 minutes, 14 points, 4 threes. He's had a couple of these this season, but I don't think we need to get overly invested. And also, Keon Johnson, who looked like he was about to be out of the rotation. Starts again, 15 and 5, 3 steals and 2 threes. I'm not going to overreact to that or think that either he or Tyrese Martin are guys to roster, but that's good. I think we got to have a discussion a little bit about Noah Clowney. That's 3 big ones in a row. 19 points, 4 threes, 5 rebounds, 30 minutes. Now, there's a very obvious reason here. Dorian Finney-Smith is out. Zaire Williams is out. Cool. I will continue to tell you, the player on this roster that has potential, the only young potential player really on this roster is Noah Clowney. You can throw in the pimple Derek Whitehead if you want, who played 1 minute 37, but Clowney is the guy. And I'm just going to be very intrigued to see how they handle it. I don't know when Finney-Smith is returning. I don't know when Bogdanovic is ever going to play. I don't know when Williams is returning. So I'm not going to have huge faith in Clowney, but my thing with him all the time has been the same thing. I think they should have given him minutes, and they didn't, so we dropped him. But I still think they're going to give him minutes later in the season. I don't know if this is later in the season or not. But it's not bad to have a look at it. It's not bad. It's not going to be a game winner or anything. But it's not bad to have a look at it. Claxton continues to be just frustratingly mid. 6 and 10 with 2 blocks is probably good enough that you don't drop him, but bloody hell. If I'm in a points league, I don't think I bother though, honestly. Like, what am I getting out of him? If I'm in a points league, I think moving on would be all right. And Shake Milton didn't do anything, which is very much Shake Milton. We got a lot of minutes out of Jalen Wilson here too. 30 of them for 8 points. Cool. I think he will have a few moments later in the season though, but probably not now. No Jimmy Butler still for the Miami Heat, and they made a couple of lineup changes, and I was wrong. I thought that this might be the game that Highsmith goes to a DNP, but no, he moved back into the starting lineup. Little Chungus moved to the bench, and they also started Jaime Jaquez Jr. over Drew Smith. We'll just start with Drew Smith. He played 7 minutes, and he suffered a serious-looking leg injury. This is his comeback season from a torn ACL. I don't know if it's an ACL. They called it a lower left leg injury. It looks real bad, and I don't know what it is, and this is the first of like 2 really bad-looking injuries today. I think that might be it for him. Not ever, but maybe. But for this season, I think that might be done. I don't know exactly, but it looked really bad. And he was already just a fringy guy anyway, so yeah, I wouldn't be expecting Smith, who's getting an MRI tomorrow, for him to play anytime soon. What about the guys that moved into the starting lineup? Highsmith played 20 minutes. Yeah, that's great. But Jovic played 32? We're not doing the Jovic shit again, are we? 18 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 threes. It's really good. Really good, little Chungus. I don't care, though. I'm not going to buy in. What I am going to buy into is my own. I'm going to smell my own fart of telling you that Jaime Jaquez remains not good. 9 points, 5 rebounds, 24 minutes, no Jimmy Butler. See you later. To further confuse us, Alec Burks played. Alec Burks. 12 points in 24 minutes for Burks, a steal and a block. I know that when Burks plays, he can put up numbers. So I'm just casually watching that. Adebayo had 23 and 7. Hero had 17, 12 and 9. But I guess the other one we've got to talk about is Superman. Khalil Ware played 17 minutes. He had 9 and 7 and 2 steals and a block. And, as far as I know, Kevin Love was available. So have they just turned over the backup spot to Khalil? If they have, and if you're in a deep league, you add Khalil Ware. You have to add him in 16-team leagues. I think he's got immense potential, like immense. And I don't think we're doing it in 12s, but we are watching to see if he gets any crossover with Bam. We are watching that. There was also no Terry Rozier in this game, so that is probably why we got Alec Burks in there. Rozier, who was probable before the game, got ruled out because, it's the witching hour with this game and this NBA schedule. The next game up is the Milwaukee Bucks up against your Chicago Bulls, and they beat them easily 112-91, even though there was no Dame and there was no Yanni again. Chris Middleton, 21, 5-5 with 3 threes, shot the ball well. Yeah, it does help that those guys are out, but we just love to see him looking better. If he's available on your wire, you add him, and obviously if you've got him, you're holding, that's great. Ryan Rollins, not as good as last time out. He still was able to nab a couple of thefts, though. 2 steals and a block there. 8 points, 2 threes in his 22 minutes. But it really just doesn't matter because Lillard's going to return and he's not going to be useful. Lillard was out with an illness here, which is ravaging this team allegedly. Gaz Trent hit 4 threes, but not going to say I care about that one. And then Punch Bob got the start with Yanni out and did his thing. This is what Portis does. 19, 13, and 6 with no defense. He shot poorly. He was bad at he wasn't bad. He was okay at the line. And then he goes back to a bench role and is useless there. And Brook Lopez had 21 and 2. Who does he think he is? Nick Young? What is this? Do something that's not points, Brook. Good numbers. You are up against the Bulls and whatever the hell that thing is that allegedly passes for a defense. Yeah, some interesting games that honestly just most of it doesn't matter at all. Big Boom AJ Green had 10 points in his 25 with 1 3, but just there's the melange of crap that we're just trying to push through and see which one's going to come out and in the end, it's usually none of them. The Chicago side of things. Let's have a look how the GOAT performed. Nik Vucevic had 17 and 12 with 2 threes, with 1 steal, shot 44% from the field, 1 of 2 from the line, and okay. He shot 25% from 3 in this one. He was 1 of 2 from the line, and he's fading. Am I right? No, not yet. But he's fading. And you've seen more bad games than good from Vooch over the last 2 weeks or so. No Giddey, no Ball, and that meant that Dosunmu started. The low usage legend had 5 points. He also had 11 assists and 2 steals, so that's good. But he shot 22%, and you know my thing with him, and I'm not going to tell you what it is again. I'm just not. It's a secret. Special Patreon-only evaluation of Ayo Dosunmu. Zach LaVine didn't back up his big performance. He had 14 and 6, while Jalen Smith, this is one. If Vooch ever gets injured or gets traded, we are smashing the crap out of Jalen Smith, who, by the way, I think he's bad. I do not think Jalen Smith is a good player at all. But we can hold multiple thoughts. Smith can be bad. He is. And he can be an awesome fantasy player because he also can be that. They can both exist at the same time. Shout out to old mate Tony Roten. What's going on with Kobe White? What's going on? I mean, apart from him just being terrible, he's just way off. Now, he will have slumps, obviously. But to me, this situation is very different to last season. Last season, you didn't have Josh Giddey. You didn't have Lonzo Ball. And you didn't have Zach LaVine. So, while he's going to be better than this, 10, 2, and 3, the actual pathway for being very good is not there. And he cooled off at the end of last season as well. So, that is, I won't say that he's droppable, but I'll tell you, this is what I'll say about Kobe White. I'm not going to rule out that he'll get there because it is bad at the moment. It is bad. Just a quick check on Taylor Horton Tucker. 2 points, 0 of 4 shooting, -10. Why is this playing? Why is he playing? What do we do? What has happened in your life that you think Taylor Horton Tucker is a good option? Who's the president of the Taylor Horton Tucker fan club? What's going on in their life? Maybe check on your mates. You never know what they're going through. The next game is the Washington Wizards up against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Big smacking from the Thunder, 123-105. There was no Bilal Coulibaly, no Alex Sarr, no Kyle Kuzma. So it was a Jonas Valanciunas trade showcase game. 12-15 with 2 steals and 2 blocks. And in case you're a new viewer to this show, and you think that I was being serious with that, and you probably would because you hear people talk about trade showcases all the time. I'm not. They're not a real thing. They don't exist. They are fake. Fake. Solid enough from JV. But obviously, we know what happened. Sarr was out. JV started. Put up pretty good numbers. There was a serious injury to Marvin Bagley here. It looks like a torn ACL. I hope it isn't for his sake, but it does look like a torn ACL. So if he is out, that means you're going to get JV as the backup, and then there'll be some Rashawn Holmes and some Anthony Gill or Tristan Vukcevic who'll have to put into that role. Justin Champagnie continued to start. He played 29 minutes, which is interesting, but this is also with no Bilal and no Sarr and no Kuzma, and then Bob Carrington got hurt. So I guess if all those guys are out, maybe that's what it needs. 4 guys being out to get good minutes. Champagnie, the old passion pop, had 3 points on 14%, but he did have 9 boards and he had 3 blocks. So if you've got him, hold just because those guys are out. But that is how he gets the value. That's it. Not that he's that good, but through that. Jordan Poole continues to... I said this on one of the shows earlier today. Only one. I've only done one show today, and that was the injury report show. It's really hard to sort of read everything going on in this game. But yeah, with Jordan Poole, I think he's just having a really good season. 31, 3-7, 2 steals and a block and 5 threes. He's a really good game, again. Keyshawn George was pretty good here, 11, 3-1 with 2 steals and a block. But the same sort of rules apply to him that they do to Champagnie. There's just a lot of blokes out that can cut into his playing time. Brogdon continues to be one of the biggest thieves. And I used to really like Brogdon as a bloke and as a player, but it just feels like every situation he goes to, it's like you go, what's Brogdon doing? Get him out of there. Why does this keep happening? That's it's fine to roster him, but man, I don't know. It's annoying. Bob Carrington was good, but he went to the locker room and didn't return, 14-2-3, and I don't think that you need to hold on to him, while Corey Kispert remained bad. 8 points with 2 threes for him. On to the Thunder. They were always in line to win this one pretty easily, I think, and you'll see that. And they made the standard thing that they do is let's just rotate our starting lineup through. So Isaiah Joe started over the Hong Kong Matros Cason Wallace. We got 19 minutes out of Isaiah Joe, and we got 28 Wallace minutes. And Wallace remains a steals streamer who can get some assists and blocks, and that's what he did. 9, 4, and 4, 2 steals and a block. Hartenstein had 16 and 11, but what about AJ Mitchell? Maybe this is big boom AJ. 16 and 12. 12 rebounds from a two-way point guard is an outrageous number. 2 threes, a steal and a block on 86% shooting. I'm going to write this off again to the lunar phase game day that is the 23rd of December. And just think that it's fine, but I don't think we need to really read into it. 29 minutes only for the Bronco. 17, 7, and 4 for Jalen Williams, while Caruso 15 minutes. He still had 5 assists and 2 steals, and much like Cason Wallace, Alex Caruso's a steals stream guy. Shai had 41, 9, and 3, 3 steals and 3 blocks in 35 minutes against the Wizards. That's a ridiculous line. That is such a big stack of numbers. Yeah, I guess so. Well, Pick Williams made his season debut. Jalen Williams had 3 points with a block. Cool. I don't think we need to worry about that almost anywhere. Lou Dort also Lou Dorted. 1 point, 0 of 6 shooting. You can't trust Lou Dort. You know this. You can use him at times, absolutely. And you can take desperation streams, but God, not a single person should feel comfortable with Lou Dort being a part of their 12-team roster on an every night basis. That would be crazy. I say as I look to see if Lou Dort is on any of my teams. The next game we're talking about is the LA Clippers up against the Memphis Grizzlies. Same lineup for the Clippers, and they get the win. Zubats, who was questionable for the game, played 40 minutes. Of course he did. 20 and 20 with 3 steals and a block. Love to see it, but why was he questionable? Norman Powell, 29 and 3 with 4 threes, continues to have unbelievable volume and unbelievable shooting, which is going to come down at some point. Probably when Kawhi comes back, but yeah, awesome. Well, Jimmy Harden had 21, 8, and 9. Kevin Porter, those counting stats are nice. 13, 6, and 4 with 2 steals. They're not awesome, they're nice. But in 20 minutes, I find it really hard to feel super trustworthy with it. And then we had Chris Dunn get 3 steals, but I'm more important, the shooting is bad from Dunn, absolutely. I'm more interested in the fact that he played 27 minutes and 33 in the last game when he'd been hovering at 24. If there's 27 of Dunn, then yeah, that's actually really interesting for 12s. I don't think we need to care that much, and we look at it more in 14-team lens, especially with Kawhi returning, maybe sometime soon, apparently. But it is interesting. Batum played 28 in this one. He had 6 and 5 with 4 assists, and that's a real Nick Batum line, the old 6-5-4-1-1. And that's really only useful for the deeper formats. Onto the Memphis side, we had Desmond Bane listed as questionable before the game, and Ja Morant was returning, but they were both able to play. Same lineup. Bane, I think the sell high is done. The buy low is done. 21, 9 and 7, 2 steals and 3 threes. He's back. What about 31 minutes for Santi Aldama? All right, cool. He's just good now. 11 and 7, 2 steals, 2 blocks, 3 threes. This man is just doing everything. And he even played big minutes. I can't work it out. I honestly just can't work it out. Jake LaRavia had 8 and 6 with Marcus Smart out, while Zach Edey had 14 boards. He had 3 blocks, but he had 3 points on 13% shooting. He continues to be a 12-team league guy that you just look at and go, can you do a little bit more? I want a little bit more. I'm not sure it gets there. Morant was good. Low minutes again. 29, 6 and 4, steal and a block, but they lost this one. At some point, Taylor Jenkins, you want to just put the foot down a little. Just a little on some of this stuff, because it's somewhat frustrating, I guess. All right, the next game up, we're talking Portland going to take on the Dallas Mavericks, and Luka was back for this one, so the result went one particular direction. 132 Dallas, 108 Portland. The Blazers were without Rob Williams, who is a very easy drop now. DeAndre Ayton played only 26 minutes, but the Snowman had 16 and 9, and guess what? He didn't take a single free throw. I'm sure you're shocked about that. And that meant that Don Klingon was able to get 15 minutes and had 4 and 3 and remains at this point. Again, I know it's hard to take, but he is bad. He's bad. He can be a fantasy relevant player at some point, but he's nowhere near it, and it requires stashing and waiting for something to happen. And I don't think it's worth it. Shaden Sharp, who'd had a couple of good ones in a row, was fine. The 3 steals helps, but otherwise 13, 3 and 3 doesn't really cut it, and he played only 24, but actually signs of life from Scoot Henderson. Of course, the blowout meant that everyone's minutes were down, and that meant that some of the bench guys did more. Scoot had 14, 6 and 4, while Denny Avdia had 19, 6 and 3 and 23 minutes, and they still just remain fringy guys. Avdia ahead of Scoot, even though I think Scoot's got more potential. It was a stinker from Jeremy Grant because he's also not very good. 3, 1 and 2 for him. He has been absolutely dreadful this season. Shot 14% here, offers nothing else. Honestly, in a category league, we are very much at I don't think you need to bother with this shit. And I would never have drafted him anyway because there's one man in the NBA who's got a track record of not playing down the end. It's him. And of being incredibly overrated. It's him. Simons had 10, 0 and 5. That is a bad one from him. When Kamara also struggled. Everyone struggled realistically. 5 and 12 for Tumani in this one. We can chalk a lot of this up to just being a bad game, but also a lot of these guys are just bad players, and that's a part of the discussion there, isn't it? The Dallas side of things, like I said, Luka was able to return. That meant that Spencer Dinwiddie moved to the bench. We only needed 30 Luka Doncic minutes, 27, 7 and 7, while Irving had 20 and 3 with the steal and the block. Great. Clay only played 18 minutes, again, blowout related, but he's always going to play less than those other guys. He had 3 threes. He's on a nice little run, Clay, of being strong and good for fantasy. I don't think that he's a must roster, but this little run suggests that he is. So if you want him now, do it. Dan Gafford also played 21 minutes while Lively played 16. That's a change that is frustrating. Now, I think some of it is just matchup, but he cooked. Gafford, 23 and 5. 100% shooting. Love it for him. He was also 64% from the line of 14 attempts, which is a lot. Gafford still in points leagues. I'm not moved by this, but it is definitely a spanner in the, we thought the minutes were going 28-20 or 30-18. Apparently not. Again, how do we judge it when the game is over as quickly as this one? And Gafford also got on a real hot streak, and Jason Kidd does love that. So I'm not going to read massive amounts into it, but it does just open your eyes a little. Dinwiddie played 14 minutes. Grimes played 17. Marshall played 16. All of those guys, no business on a 12-team roster. Probably on a 14, you look at Marshall, and that's about it. And I think that's probably where we sit. As for Lively, bad. 4 and 4. There's no sugarcoating. That's just bad. I would be holding him. I'm not going to let this one game necessarily sway my opinion too much overall in terms of how the Mavs are going to run their center rotation. All right, the Suns. Yeah, that's an ass kicking. They lose to the Nuggets 117-90. Kevin Durant played 31 minutes. He had 23 and 9. He had 2 steals. He had a block. He was really good. But it's not enough. Beal was also good. 23 with 5 threes and a steal and 53% shooting, but not enough. They're just bad. There was no Booker or no Grayson Allen for them. And then Nurkic plays 15 minutes. 15. I thought that maybe we were away from this sort of stuff with Nurkic. And to be fair, He had 4 fouls, so that's largely the reason. But it wasn't even that Mason Plumlee got big run, 15 minutes only here for Plumlee. Iguodaro played 18, so look, yeah, I am still holding Nurkic, but the frustrations feel like they're going to be there. And it's also, speaking of frustration, Tyus Jones. I had him on the Sell High show the other day, and we talked about there was a few things that probably weren't going to stick, and since then he's turned into absolute stinkers. And this is another one. 9 points in 23 minutes for Tyus. He had 2 assists. He shot the ball well, but just sort of disappeared, like not really doing anything. I was down on him heading into the season. He's exceeded my expectations, but the last couple have been pretty troubling. And Royce O'Neal hurt his groin in this one, but he played through it. But only 29 minutes, 6 points, 2 threes. These are the sort of guys. Like, you can consider O'Neal a stream guy, and that's fine, I do. With those players out, he's worth looking at. But they're not good enough to be guys that you have to just hold on to and deal with in all circumstances. So if you'd moved on or if you didn't bother and then he has a big game, you don't worry about it. Because there's going to be bad ones like this. And that is just the sort of player that he is. Unfortunately, they weren't able to get Bol out there. He was injured. Otherwise, he might have really been able to turn the tide into a revenge game, but it didn't happen. And the Suns lose by a large margin. The Denver side of things, well, they did this one without the headmaster. Jamal Murray was out, so Russell Westbrook started. Let's just start with Russ, who played 25 minutes, had 11, 5, and 7 with 2 steals. Don't worry about the 25 minutes because everyone's minutes were down. At the moment, yes, unbelievably, Westbrook's a must-roster player for now. Until further notice, he's a must-roster guy. Aaron Gordon was fine enough, but Christian Braun was not. 4, 7, and 4 in 26 minutes for Brownie on 22% shooting. Now, again, I'm not going to worry too much about the minutes given it was a blowout, but Brown is one of those players who's not that good, who had a really hot start to the season, which does cloud or colour some of our judgment of him. And it's been a really rough run of things. Over the last 2 weeks, he's outside the top 170. In a 10-team league, I don't think you'd need to hold on to Christian Braun. In a 12, it's getting borderline for me. But always remember, I was not particularly high on Christian Braun heading into the season. So when I see games like this, I go, yeah, makes sense. So I'm going to look at that and go, don't worry, he's going to be back to his best. I'm going to go, yeah, this makes sense. He's not that good. And that's how I view that. But you don't have to view it that way. Always understand the lenses that people come to you with. If people are pushing their own narratives, if people are fluffing their own candy cane or whatever they're doing. Seasonal reference. Just remember where they come from. I thought Jalen Pickett has been disgustingly bad most of his career. He's had some better moments this season, absolutely. He's been much improved. But this is, I'd say, his best game by far. 11 points for Jalen Pickett in 23 minutes with 3 threes and 8 assists. It helps when you're going up against the bowlless Phoenix Suns. So that's a benefit there. And, of course, Jamal Murray was out. But just good to see him feeling a little bit more comfortable. Peyton Watson and Julian Stroud that didn't really do much. And I haven't really even talked about the fact that the poop cookie was much better here. Michael Porter Jr., after getting benched in the last game, he shot 83% for 24, 6, and 4. And Jokic just did his thing, 32, 2, and 7. Over the last 2 weeks, Jokic is actually, I think, the 5th-ranked player over the last 2 weeks. Let me have a look. Because I do my rolling 2-week tracker on players. Let's look at Jokic's numbers. So he was first, and then December 16th, he was second, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 10th. That's interesting. We knew that there were a lot of things that Jokic was doing that wasn't going to hold, and that's no shade to Jokic. He's still the best player in the NBA. He's still my pick for MVP. He's still the guy that I think you have at number 1, like borderline with Wemby. I still believe that. But he was playing 38 minutes a night. He was shooting 55% from 3. And no matter how good you are, and you might be one of the best players of all time, which he is, you can't do that. You can't keep doing it. And he won't. And we're seeing a bit of a downtick now. So it is underreported. Maybe. Just keep an eye on it. You're not going to do, what are you going to do with it? Nothing. Just remember that level of complete domination was never going to be able to hold at the level that it did, I don't think, for the entirety of the season. And we're seeing that. The next game, the Indiana Pacers go into Golden State and they knock off the Warriors 111-105. The Pacers roll out the same starting lineup. Miles Turner had a locker room trip, but he returned and played 35 minutes. 23 and 10 with 3 blocks. That is a monster game from him. And I'm not sure that he's fully back, but he's back, I guess. 16, 6, and 12 for Tyrese Halliburton. 2 steals, shot the ball well. You still want a little bit more usage-wise, but now he is the 15th ranked player over the last 2 weeks. And for all of the hand-wringing and swearing and complaining, he's looking all right. We're getting there. Siakam had 20 and 5, and Obi Toppin, he's back to at least being Obi Toppin, so that feels good. 8 and 4 with 2 steals, and by feels good, it means, at least I don't have to worry about Obi Toppin in 12-team leagues anymore. Ben Matherin, speaking of not worrying about someone in 12-team leagues, yeah, he's just not it.
Get that garbage out of here.
Another one of those guys that put together a nice little 2-3 week run where you go, oh, has he figured it out? And the answer is no. 12-5-2, he shot poorly, you got no defensive stats, you can do a lot better than him. Is a lot better than him Andrew Nembhard? I'm not sure. 15-4-3 is pretty good. He defended really well in this game, Nembhard. I still think he's on the peripheries of 12-teamers, and we know that the Pacers do have a really good schedule. But out of those 6 games in 9 nights, they've played 2 of them now. So it's not as good anymore. But Nembhard is on the fringes of a 12-team value. Same with McConnell, who had 13 points and 5 assists. And not much else, I don't think, going on that side of the ball. As usual, the more interesting and confusing things tend to happen on the Golden State side of the game. They brought Draymond Green back in this one, so he started, and that meant that Kyle Anderson moved to the bench. Green, like Miles Turner, had a locker room trip. He ended up returning, though, played 26 minutes, had 4, 7, and 5 with 3 steals and a block. And while it's not perfect, it's not bad. John Kuminga off the bench played 30 minutes and scored 26, 8, and 4, which is a fantastic game. What I said the other day about Kuminga is I need to see him with a 30-minute role to be confident in him in 12-teamers. Well, he played 9 seconds less, so I'm not confident. But it's a good sign. It's also a great sign that Podziemski played 27 minutes. He looked much better as well in this game, Podziemski. I still don't think we need to take the plunge in 12s. 5, 6, and 2 with 3 steals. But what I would do, I probably would take the plunge on Trace Jackson-Davis. He does not need as many minutes. He is more diverse right across the skill set. 13, 8, and 3, a block. That is 2 big games in a row from TJD. I don't trust the foreseeable future legend Steve Kerr to keep him starting, but as long as he is playing 23 plus, and he started earlier in the season and played 18 a night, which is not enough, but if he's playing 23 to 25 a night, that is a must roster 12-team guy. So I don't feel confident that he's going to play that, so he's not a must roster guy, but he's definitely a guy that we just go and grab and see where we go with it. I feel okay about seeing where we go. I know where we're going with Buddy Hield, and that is straight to the bin.
Get that garbage out of here.
13 points with 3 threes, and honestly, you might not want to pull the trigger, but you probably can on Dennis Schroeder.
Get that garbage out of here.
9 points, 3 assists, 30 minutes. Now, he's got a track record of being a good player. Although, if you go look at the game logs, it's like for the first 2 months of the season and then falls off. And when he goes to better teams, he disappears. To me, he was going to fall off in Golden State without question. I didn't have any doubt about that. It was all about how much he would fall off. I thought he would fall off to become a droppable player. He has. It's still only 2 games, so I get it if you want to be cautious with it. And I probably, honestly, I don't have Schroeder anywhere because I also underestimated him to begin the season. I don't have him anywhere. But if I did, I would probably hold 1 or 2 more, but it is not good. It's also not good for Steph Curry, who... Is he washed? I mean, he's not, but you can also see that he is in his own way. This is what happens with legends, with 36-year-old players. He can still do it, but the bad games creep in more often. And that's what we're seeing with Steph. 10 points, 15% shooting, 3 blocks, 7 assists. So some good stuff there. Don't panic with it. But I think that the idea of Steph being a guaranteed top 10 player, not going to happen. He doesn't have that level left, is what it currently feels like to me. All right, we got the final game to go to now, and the Detroit Pistons on the road beat the Los Angeles Lakers 117-114. Really tight end of the game, but the Pistons get it done. Pistons Twitter admin as well, roasting blokes. Some great work from them over on the old Twitter. Detroit, no change to their lineup. Leaky Beasley, though, continues to be just ridiculous. What is going on with this guy? 21 points with 5 threes. Now, anything else you get out of him is a complete bonus. But you got 2 steals here. And at the moment, he does remain a 12-team league guy, even though there's going to be ups and downs. And I'm not going to have confidence in him. But he's doing it. I definitely don't have any confidence in Asar Thompson, and neither should you. So, unfortunately, Asar, in 10, in 12, and honestly, in 14-team leagues,
Get that garbage out of here.
Tim Hardaway continues to do, not very much. He did have 15 points, which is good for him, but not much else. And then I am now officially worried about what is going on with Tobias Harris. 2 steals and 2 blocks for the thick Hogsman. 6 points. Bruh. I do think he's better than this, but he can't shoot. But more importantly, the usage is just gone. They aren't using him as a usage guy. I don't know why they paid him $50 million, but they're not using him. I don't think we're dropping Tobias Harris. Like, he's a top 100 points league guy still. He's like 102nd in category leagues. It's nowhere near as good as I thought he would be. I just thought that they would need to use him more and he would shoot better. And none of those things are true. I think we might get to a drop stage. We're not there, but I think we might. Paul Reed didn't score, but had 5 assists, 3 steals, and 2 blocks, which, again, is unbelievable deep league gold. While Duran had 6 and 10 and a steal and a block, that's okay. Solid enough Jaden Ivey game, but like as is usual with Ivey, you got 18 points, which looks great. The problem with 18 points in a 12-team league is it is an average performance. And he has 2 rebounds and 2 assists. Didn't take a single free throw. At least he shot well, and he got 2 steals. So like he remains a borderline guy, although I'm not super encouraged with him. While Cade had 20 and 5 with 10 assists, shot poorly, didn't get enough free throws, and didn't hit any didn't hit any threes, and of course 5 turnovers means he probably should be cut in all formats. Don't cut him. Please recognize that's a joke. For the love of God. On to the Los Angeles Lakers side of this game. Yeah, game. We'll call it a game. They didn't change their lineup at all. LeBron was great. 28, 11, and 11. These little rest games that he's had seems to have boosted some of his value. And AD, what's going on with AD's free throws? They are dreadful. 4 of 8 from the line. Big volume, bad percentage. It's a big problem, man. Like, he's been really good in other areas, but the free throws continue to be really bad. 19, 10, and 6 for AD, and Austin Reeves was okay. 12 and 7 with 2 steals. I really liked getting this out of Max Christie. 17 points with 3 threes and 2 steals for Max. He shot well. Now, this is not an everyday occurrence, as we're well aware, but starting is an everyday occurrence for Max Christie at the moment. I do have some faith in him becoming a solid player. He's a little bit like the Lakers version of Quentin Grimes to me, that sort of a player. We're probably still looking just at 16-teamers, maybe 14-team, but he's like top 150 over the last 2 weeks, max. And that should at least perk up some of your attention. What should also perk up your attention is that D'Angelo Russell was great in the last one and then had 5 points in 16 minutes, which honestly, I breathe a sigh of relief because I got burnt on him last season. You know this. I talked about how I'm going to stubbornly hold on to him this season, even though it looks like they've given up. And then I said, all right, we're done, move on. And then what did he score? 30 points in the last game? I went, like how? Seriously. So I'm not from a D-Lo perspective, not from a D-Lo fan. If you're a D-Lo fan, if you're a D-Lo stan, again, what's going on? Everything all right? Do you want to chat? I don't get it. But for everyone else, and for me in particular, me, the most important person, me, I look at this and go, thank God I said that he was droppable, and we go back to this. So, we're good. I cannot believe though. I can't believe that NBA teams let Dalton Connect fall to pick number 17. He had 7 points in 16 minutes here with 2 rebounds and an assist. And yeah, I also can't believe, and this is actually honestly, why is Rui Hachimura's advanced roster percentage 86%? 10 points, 1 rebound, 1 assist. He's bad. He's always been bad. He's always been bad at fantasy. He's bad at NBA basketball. Why do we keep looking at him as a good player? We don't, because if I say we, that includes me, and I never have. What are we doing? Remember the insane... Shout out to Scout with Brian, by the way. Remember that guy? With the comparison of Rui Hachimura. Yeah, he's probably going to be the next Giannis or Kawhi. Okay. 10 points. No threes for him. Gabe Vincent hit his threes, which is better than anything he was doing last season. And that brings me to the end of a delirious 14-game recap. Should we just go straight in and start dropping monstruses? Not lines of the night, of course, nothing else. Where's the start of that? Where'd my little start of that video go? All right, Shai was your monstrous. That just cut off. The waiver wire line of the night was Garrison Matthews, who had 25 points with 7 of 8 triples. Your young gun of the night, the non-Wemby division. Yep, we're going to do that now because Wemby won it. It was a Men Thompson, 19-11 with 3 assists, 1 steal and 3 blocks. And your dud of the night, yes, this guy is rostered in over 70% of leagues according to Basketball Monster. That's why he got the dud of the night. He shouldn't be, but he is. It's Lugens Dort, 0 points, 2 rebounds, and 1 assist for the big fella, Lou Dort. Let's go and have a look at the top 6 players now for the day across our various little fantasy factions. The top player in category leagues today, of course, was Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, followed by Victor Wembanyama, LeBron James, Tyrese Maxey, OG Anunoby, and Karl Anthony Towns. Your top 6 waiver wire level players. Number 1 was Garrison Matthews. We can just chalk that up to cool and not worry about it any further. Jordy Clarkson remains a good streamer. Sam Merrill, well, he's in that just melange of nonsense with Okoro and Levert and maybe Tyson and Porter and Strus and Milk and all those guys where we don't worry about it too much. Wade as well. Gershon Yabusele, with Drummond hurting his toe and Embiid getting ejected, he popped off. But of course, that required 2 other centers to go down. So we keep an eye on Drummond's status, but Yabusele is probably not one we care about. AJ Mitchell was also great for the Thunder, but I honestly don't think there's any takeaway whatsoever on that. And the last one's Chris Boucher, who we watched really closely because he was good. And if Pirtle is out, maybe he's useful, but I'm not going to hang my hat on that and feel super excited about it. Your top 6 Yahoo Points League players for the day: Shai, followed by Maxey, Wemby, Zubats, Jaylen Brown, LeBron James is your top 6. And lastly, for ESPN Points Leagues, number 1 is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Tyrese Maxey, Victor Wembanyama, Karl Anthony Towns, LeBron James, and the Jedi OG Anunoby. We had a few players get hurt during the game and have to leave. Let's just check in on those guys. Bob Carrington left for the Wizards. If he does miss, Corey Kispert, Keyshawn George, Justin Champagny, all get a bit of a boost there. Enough for me to care? Probably not. Marvin Bagley hurt his knee. I think it's bad. I think it's end of season sort of stuff there for him. So Rashawn Holmes and Anthony Gill will be a deeper league sort of option there. Drew Smith hurt his leg, also looked pretty bad. Maybe it's Alec Burks who steps in there, but otherwise it probably just gives a floor boost to Pala Larson, to Terry Rozier, to Duncan Robinson, and maybe to Triple H, Jaime Jaquez Jr. And that they're not really going to be 12-team guys. And then Drummond hurt his toe, and that meant Gershon Yabusele is moving back into deeper league discussions over there. We did it. 14 games. Tomorrow is my Christmas day. It's my Christmas day tomorrow, so, we'll see how we go, I guess. Now, I will have shows for you. There'll be a buy low, sell high show tomorrow. There'll be a preview of the NBA's Christmas Day games coming tomorrow as well. But, of course, no recap because no games. But, we'll bring us to the end of the show here, of course. So give it a thumb and a comment, all that stuff. But, of course, it is Christmas. If you're here in Australia with me, we're waking up to Santa tomorrow. I hope the big fella doesn't do anything inappropriate. He comes in and he just showers you with lots of gifts, although shower might not be the appropriate word there. But more importantly, at this time of year, be safe. Don't get on the piss and jump in a car and smash and do anything like that. Don't do anything stupid. Don't let your emotions get the better of you. Stay calm, stay positive, stay safe, and stay happy. And enjoy it over Christmas. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for watching and for listening, everyone. See ya.